Hey guys, welcome to Silva Podcast. Welcome to one more episode. I'm Fred Silva, and today is a very special episode because today I'm going to talk to Teacher Carley. Teacher Carley is an English teacher from the US. She lived in South Korea for a long time, and she has over than 15 years of experience teaching people all over the world to speak a better English. So today she will share with us a little bit about these stories, a little bit about expressions, phrasal verbs, idioms, and so much more. You will learn a lot of things in this episode. By the way, if you see something popping in on your screen, is a new vocabulary, a new expression that you can learn from us. And by the way, Silva Podcast right now is on Spotify. So if you want to listen the episodes, you just need to click on the description, the first link on the description, and follow us on Spotify as well. So I'm so happy to have this guest today, guys. I know that you will learn a lot of new things today. So let's jump right into the conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, Carly, how are you?
Hey, Fred, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. First of all, thank you so much for accept my invitation. It's a great pleasure to have you here. I know we can bring a lot of good things for the students and people that are watching and listen to us right now. I know we can get help them to improve their English. And today we will talk about expressions, idioms, and things that Americans use on a daily basis. And I am so happy to have you here. If you could please introduce yourself, say who you are, where you live, and everything.
All right. So first of all, the honor and the pleasure is all mine, Fred. Like I told you before, I'm so proud of you for doing this. And I'm even more honored that you would ask me to be here. So I'm excited to do this podcast with you. For introducing myself, my name is Carly. I'm 30 years old. I just turned 30, so it's weird saying that I'm 30 now. I'm in my 30s, and I have been an English teacher. Oh my goodness, let's see. Technically, I started teaching English when I was in high school. There were so many exchange students at my high school that they needed help. American students were able to help them with their English after school. And I was always really fascinated by other cultures. And so I became friends with a lot of the exchange students. And I just realized at 15 years old, man, I love teaching English. And this is what I want to do with my life. So I went on to get a bachelor's degree in English. I studied grad school, ESL, teaching English as a second language. And I moved to Korea. I taught English there, I guess a total of 7 years total. And I've taught English here in America for about 2 years as well. And now I'm teaching English to you guys online with Teacher Tiffani Academy. But I also am an editor. So I'm an editor for the US government. So I know it's I do a lot of different things right now. But yeah, so I'm a mom. I have 2 boys. One is about to turn 9 in a couple weeks, and one is 3 years old, and he is such a hassle. He is crazy right now, but that's pretty much my life. I think my hobbies, I like to work out, I like to swim, and I just love teaching English to you guys. I know that sounds so, I don't know, not really. It's not a hobby, but it's kind of my hobby, recording videos for you guys and checking up on the group chats and stuff. It's something that I make sure I do every day. So I consider it a hobby as well.
I can see that too. I can see that you love teaching English because you said that you start very, very young when you are 15 or something. Mm-hmm. And right now you are doing the same even after 15 years. Yeah. So this is amazing. This is amazing because when you do a thing that you really love it, you can do this for the rest of your life. So yeah, this is what I think about English. I can do that for the rest of my life because I really love English. I love help people. And I think you love teaching English too. I have a few questions about your journey as a teacher.
Okay.
You mentioned that you moved to South Korea for a while and you taught English there. How was your experience teaching people overseas that are not native English speakers? How was this experience to you?
So it's funny. I think if you were to ask pretty much any other English teacher in the world, they would say, oh, it's completely different than when you teach here in America. But for me, my experience teaching here in America was still amongst ESL students because, like I said, when I started teaching when I was teaching in high school, I was tutoring after school because I was still a high school student myself. But when I started doing that, all the students, they were from different countries. They were exchange students. So English was their second language. And my high school just happened to have so many South Korean students. And I became friends with so many of them. And one of them, I actually ended up marrying. One of
Wow.
them. He is now my ex-husband, but we were young and in love. But anyways, so when I moved to Korea, it wasn't that much of a difference for me because, yes, there was here in America, there were a few students from Vietnam, from Japan, from Germany, from Mexico, from Brazil. There was a few students from other countries when I was tutoring in high school, but the majority of them were from South Korea. And I was able to, while I was teaching them English, I was able to learn a little bit of Korean here and there with them. And when I got to Korea, the biggest change was just the students were a lot younger because I started teaching, oh my goodness, I think kindergarten was the youngest I've taught. And so they just automatically expect you to speak Korean. And when I first moved there, I didn't know that much Korean. I had to go to school. I went to a university in Korea, and that's where I met Teacher Tiffani because she was also at the same university as I. So I think the biggest change was I had to push myself as well to try to learn Korean, as quickly as possible, but also I wanted to make sure I did it the correct way. I didn't want to just learn how to speak. I wanted to go to school and learn from the very beginning, like the basics, and learn the correct way, grammar and everything. So I think the biggest difference was just myself learning a second language as I'm teaching someone else a second language too. So we were both, I'm the teacher and they're the student, but also a lot of times my students would teach me as well because I was living in their country and I was trying to learn their language. And so when I would teach them English, a lot of times they would be like, oh, this is how you say it in Korean. And they would teach me Korean as well. So it was definitely probably the most amazing experience I've had teaching in my teaching career because I didn't feel like I was strictly a teacher. I felt like I was their friend. I felt like they were also my teacher in some ways, even though they're young students, So I think teaching abroad, if anybody is watching this and they think that they want to, or listening, they think that they want to take a year to teach abroad, I think you should definitely do it. It can literally change your life and your perspective on culture, on language. I definitely think that had I not visited Korea, my life would be completely different. I think I needed that experience as an ESL teacher abroad to really just confirm that I love teaching English. I already knew I love teaching English here in America, but going to Korea definitely made me realize, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. So definitely a good experience.
Yeah, we have a great point here that we can dive in a little bit more. First of all, it's about the win-win situation that you are. You are like learning a new language and teach somebody a new language as well. So I think this is really a good way to learn and teach because at the same time you are trying to learn, you are helping other people to learn your own language. So it's more, you can get more close to the students, as you mentioned. And this brings us to the second point is it's so much more easy when you try to learn a new language with a friend, not with a teacher, because
Yes.
you get more comfortable doing that. With me, it was the same. Teacher Tiffani is I started to become her student, and right now we are a friend. As a friend, I learned so much more English than as a student. Why? Because I am comfortable. I am not in my student mode. You know, I am like in real life. I just need to talk, and then I can get everything to apply to my English. So it's more natural than because study English or whatever you are studying, it's not good. It's like it's boring. But when you are like talking to a friend, when you are like doing something funny, it's good. You don't need to think about I am studying. Your brain is like, okay, you are just living your life. So it's more easy to learn. This was my experience, and I can see that it was a little bit about your experience too, teaching students in South Korea and learning the Korean language at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I think not only with my students, but as I was able to make friends in South Korea, because, I went there with my husband at that time, and he had to go to the military straight away. It's like mandatory for South Korean men. So I was alone in this country all of a sudden that I've never been to before. And as I started making friends in Korea, I was pushing myself even harder to learn the language, because when you're a student, you're like in class all day. Because I was taking classes from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I was in Korean class all day, and I just was feeling like I have to do this. I have to study, kind of like, I was young. So I was like, I don't want to do this. But when I went outside and I wanted to like hang out with my new friends, I realized I have to do this because I want to talk to them so bad. And I can't, they don't understand my English fully, and I don't understand their Korean fully. So I'm going to have to be the one to learn Korean, So I think it was a win-win for everybody there.
Yeah, and there is one more thing. When you are learning a new language, you can feel the same thing your student feel. Like you are in their skin, I can feel the difficulties that they have. I can feel how they struggle with the language. It's more, I don't know. I think for a teacher is more, I don't know. It's more easy to see how to help more the students because you feel the same thing.
Oh, yes. I definitely think I became a better and more understanding teacher after I became bilingual myself. Now, I don't think I'm like super fluent in Korean. I'm intermediate level still. I'm basic. Teacher Tiffani now, she is amazing at Korean. She has she got her doctorate degree in Korean, like in Korea. So like, she just blows me away. But like, I feel like her and I both can agree that you feel, I don't know, you feel more understanding to the student now that you are bilingual yourself than prior to me studying Korean. I was like strictly teacher mode, always thinking, how can I teach my students? How can I do this? But when I became a student as well, I realized, I'm going to have to change my methods a little bit. And, I understood what they needed and their needs a little bit better, because I know that, here's an expression for you. The shoe was on the other foot. The shoe was on the other foot, which kind of means like, I experienced student life and learning a second language. And so because I experienced that, the shoe was on the other foot. Because of that, I was able to understand my students a lot better. I know we're learning about it today.
By the way, guys, when she speaks an expression or something, you can see on the screen this expression in the meeting, because this will help you to understand and connect with the conversation. So this is one of the ways you can learn more from our conversation today. Awesome. And we were talking about Teacher Tiffani, and she told me in the episode that I interviewed her that her method was totally influenced by the time that she was learning Korean in South Korea. She told me that everything that she bring to the method was she discovered when she was in South Korea. So I think this is a good way to, to teach somebody when you have a background that you are a learner before, and you can help more people with your knowledge.
Yeah.
Guys, as you can see, she's speaking a lot of different expressions in the conversation. And today, this episode is about expressions. And when I say expression, I'm not saying just expressions in English, but phrasal verbs, idioms, slangs, everything that Americans use on a daily basis in real life. And this is what we want to show you today. So speaking about expressions, Carly, you guys use a lot of expression. When I see, a dialogue in English, a real dialogue in English, or when I am analyzing the conversation that I have in the podcast, man, it's unbelievable how much you guys use expressions all the time. You already use a few of them. I can see that. And I have some expression that I really think is funny, or I really like that. My favorite is a piece of cake. You guys use this a lot, and I try to use as well, because I love how simple it is, how I don't know how awesome it is to use in a conversation.
I really like the expression, a piece of cake. I think it's something that, okay, so first of all, I want to say for expressions, as a ESL student, you learn the expressions. So it's so funny. I think some of the students in the Telegram chat, they know more expressions off the top of their head, which is another expression. They know more expressions off the top of their head than the average American would, I think, because it comes so natural to us that when somebody asks us about an expression or say, hey, give me some American expressions, we're like, what?
I know.
Because it's so natural. We don't realize that we're using expressions. And you just said a piece of cake. Just yesterday, my son was playing a video game, and I was like, oh, that looks so hard. And he told me he got so many points or whatever. And he was like, nah, it's a piece of cake. He's 9. He's not even 9 yet, and he just already knows that expression. So it's so funny that you mentioned that expression first, because I was like, this was on my list of something to talk about with you today because of that situation that happened with my son yesterday. You just automatically know. You don't really get taught when you're an American. You don't get taught these expressions. You just pick them up along the way of life, and you start using them. And you just automatically know what they are.
Yeah, it's so funny when you use this type of expression. When I'm talking to a native English speaker, and when I use this expression, they start to smile when I use that, because I don't know. I think it's because it sounds so natural for you guys, that when you guys see somebody that's not a native English speaker, when you see somebody using it, it's so natural, and they start to smile and laugh because it's funny. So I like that one. I have a lot of expressions that I like it, because you can use like you can get a complex thing and make it simple, just one expression. Another one that I like, a couch potato, when somebody is lazy to exercise or something. Oh, that guy is a couch potato. I think it's so funny. You can picture it, you can see it, and it's easy to remember it.
I also think because of your personality, Fred, I think that you would tend to lean towards the funny American expressions. I feel like you use those most in your everyday vocabulary, right?
Yeah, maybe, but I think it's more because when it's funny for me, I can remember it, when it's a thing that it's easy to remember it. So it's one tip. If you want to remember something, make it fun, make it interesting, because when it's not funny, or when it's boring, you won't remember. This is another one, hands down, when I totally agree with you. So
yeah, hands down. Every time we talk about expressions, and like, I know Teacher Tiffani and I I don't know, probably thousands of expressions that we have available for the students now, we always tend to have a conversation and then new ones pop up. And we're like, wow, we haven't taught that one. Have we taught that one? No, I don't think we've taught that one. And it's crazy because, I can't believe that one language can have so many expressions that if you were to say it, so example, I was talking the other day to one of my friends. She's Korean, and I said she had like a job interview or whatever. So I was like, okay, break a leg, and she was like, what? And I was like, do well, like good, like I hope
Good luck.
good luck, And she was like, what did you say though? And I was like, break a leg. I don't know, it's like something that we so casually say here in America, like it just, I don't know, maybe other English speaking countries as well. We just say break a leg. And if somebody doesn't know what you're talking about, they don't know that expression, they might become offended. Like, why would you want me to break a leg? Like, what does that mean? And I'm like, it's so crazy. Like, I think one thing that would be quite interesting is if we do a course, an English course where you deep dive into these expressions and learn the history of them and how they came about. Because I know some of these expressions we use almost on a daily basis, we don't even know where they came from. As Americans, we don't even know. How does break a leg mean good luck? Now, I think I've heard about something like this a long time ago where something to do with theater and the theater. But like, it'll be interesting just to learn the history of these expressions because honestly, we use so many every day and I don't even know where they like the origin of them because some of them mean something. When you say it, it means something completely different than what you actually mean. So break a leg actually seems like it's something bad, right? But it actually means good luck, so it's almost the opposite. And that's the case with most of the expressions. Like they don't really make sense unless you know the expression beforehand.
Yeah, you can see that I can see that you also like, funny expressions like that.
Yeah.
Because this could be very funny if the other person doesn't understand what you are saying, the meaning of the expression, they can feel like, oh, this is a bad thing. She is saying that she wants I break my leg, but it's not like that. When you're saying break the leg. Can you repeat the expression, please?
Break a leg. Break a leg.
Yeah. When you say break a leg, it's like good luck. You can do it. So rock. And I think I have heard the same story about the how this expression was created in the past. So it's quite of funny. So and yeah, you can see that all the time in American English. I think I don't know a lot, but every time when I pick up someone that it's like this funny, it's good to remember it. I try to apply, I try to use it. This is one more tip. If you are watching now and you get something, write it down and try to use it in the same day because you will remember it. And if you repeat it again and again, trying to use the same expression a couple of times, it will help you to, remember it. So it is a thing that I do, and maybe you can do it too. Let me ask you this question, Carly. What is your favorite expression in English? Do you have one favorite?
Oh my goodness, this is a hard question because I tend to use so many expressions. Okay, I will say I am from the South here in America. So I'm from Florida. Right now I'm living in Georgia, but I'm from Florida. And I feel like if America were to be just cut in half across the middle of the country, people in the South tend to have a lot more expressions that they use than people from up north. Because sometimes when Teacher Tiffani and I were collaborating, she would have expressions that I never heard of, and I would have expressions that she never heard of. Yet we are both American. It just depends on like where we were born and raised. She's from Maryland, I'm from Florida. And it's funny because we have a lot of expressions that are like very similar or the same. Everybody in America knows, but there's some that are like specific to the South and specific to the North. So I think one of my favorite expressions is one that my mom used to always tell me, and it's something that I use with my children as well. And it's called, or it is, sound like a broken record player. So the expression is you or somebody's name sounds like a broken record player. Now let me explain this expression a little bit. Back in the day, we didn't have CDs or cassette tapes. You had record players and you would play the record. And sometimes the record would get stuck and it would say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, when I would be like, hey, mom, 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 she'd be like, Carly, you sound like a broken record player, because I keep on saying, I'm trying to get her attention. So I'm like, mom, 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 mommy, mom, So I think when I was growing up, my mom used that expression so much. And I was like, I don't think I sound like a broken record player. And also when I was young, I didn't even know what a record player was, really. My parents had one, but we never used it, So now that I'm an adult and I have children of my own, I use that expression a lot to my own kids, because I realize if you have kids, like sometimes they can sound like a broken record player. They say the same thing. Even if it's not just your name, they just say something again and again and again, the same thing. And you're like, you already told me that. You've already said that. It's okay. You said that before. You sound like a broken record player. I get it. My oldest son, his birthday is in a couple weeks. And so many times a day, he tells me what he wants for his birthday, the same thing. And I'm like, I know, I got it. I understand. I know you want that. You're starting to sound like a broken record player, saying it again and again. But I think that's the expression I use the most. Yeah.
It's funny because even right now, the new generation, they don't have record players. Some of them doesn't even know what it is, but they are able to use the expression without knowing the history of this expression. But they use because it's like inside of the culture.
Exactly. I know for certain that my children do not know what a record player is. There's no way they can know. But I know that sometimes my older son, I can hear him sometimes say that expression to his younger brother. When his younger brother is being annoying, he's like, stop, you sound like a broken record player. Stop talking so much, He'll use the expressions, but I know that he has no idea what a record player is, He doesn't even know what a CD is, probably. He's so young.
Oh yeah, I'm sure about this. My son, he is 10 right now. He doesn't know. And Carly, let me ask you this question. You spoke that in America, depend where you live, the expressions are different. And tell us a little bit more about this, because if I go to America right now and I'm going to New York, or I'm going to Atlanta, where you live. So I think it could be different. The type of expression I will heard in New York or in your city. How this work in America? Because of course, America is huge. You have different culture. If you live in South, if you live in the North. So tell us a little bit more about this regionality expressions or something like that.
Okay, good question. So I do think overall, Americans, we can understand when an expression is being used, even if we have never heard that expression before, or if maybe we've heard it on TV or something a long time ago, but we don't use it in our daily, vocabulary. I think when I go up north, I lived in New York for a little bit. I don't remember exactly the expressions, but I do know sometimes that I just figured it out. I didn't understand what they were saying at first, but it made enough sense for it to mean something. And I correlated it with something that I have an expression of my own that means almost the same thing. So I think here in the South, like I said, we have a lot more, expressions, yes, but slang too. One of the most common is when I was in New York, I lived in New York City 5 or 6 years ago for just a brief time, just for work. And everybody said, use guys. use guys. Now, when you speak English, and especially me being an English teacher, that does not make sense. Why do you put an S on use and like that? For me, it just didn't make sense. Use guys, but everybody says it. And then I remembered here in the South, we say y'all, y'all. It means the same thing. Use guys and y'all. And technically, y'all isn't or wasn't a real word until just a few years ago. Like it was never in the dictionary until maybe, I don't know, maybe when I was in middle school or high school, they actually put the word in the dictionary because it became so popular. So many people just used it, but it wasn't really a word for a long time. And it's just things like that. Like when somebody says use guys, I know what they're talking about because, you know, we have a similar word here in the South, y'all. But I would never say use guys myself because I'm not from the North. I'm from the South. So I'm going to say y'all. And it's something that I say a lot. I think it's because of where I was raised. Like, you know, every day I think I use this word y'all, especially to like my family, like y'all hurry up, let's go. You know, where have y'all been? You know, I always say this word y'all. So that's just one example. I know there are so many expressions. And a lot of times I think maybe your question was, if you were to come to America, depending on where you go, what expressions do you use? I don't think you really have to worry about that because most Americans, we understand each other's expressions, even if we didn't grow up with those. So like me growing up in the South, Tiffani growing up in the North, maybe some of the expressions that she's said, I don't use them or I've never heard of them before, but I can still understand them, you know, because we have similar ones that we say here in the South. So you don't have to worry about people maybe like being like, what are you saying? What are you trying to say? I think that they'll understand regardless, just because overall Americans kind of have like this understanding when somebody's using an expression.
Yeah. This expression I have heard both because you know I speak with people. I know people that live in New York, and they say you guys all the time. And then I think I used to do that more than y'all. Y'all I see more on, you know, in a TV series or something. I saw a lot of people saying y'all all the time. But in my journey, I was not able to use this like this so much. So instead to say y'all, I say you guys mostly. You know. But it's funny because you can heard both of them, and you know. When you are studying, you see videos or something, maybe people will say you guys, maybe they will say y'all, or maybe you all. That's more is more.
Yes, you all is like correct English. It's not really an expression. It's just English. But then people say use guys or you guys and y'all, and then it becomes like slang and expression. It goes down that little path, you know.
Yeah, this is it's really funny because you can see how different could be English in America. This happened with Portuguese as well. If you are in the South, you speak in a totally different way that people from the North. Is like another Portuguese, you know, it's kind of another Portuguese. Expressions are different. The way to speak is different. The accent is totally different. I can't see a lot of difference between the accent of you guys in America. But I know that exists, but it's not like very different. I don't know, maybe in Texas or more in the South. But I can see a lot of difference between the way you guys speak. So I don't know if maybe it's just my perception. What do you think about it?
No, I think it's so it's more difficult for English or people who are learning English, so ESL students or when English is their second language. I think it's more difficult for them to spot the differences in English and everything where you're from, because even though I'm American and I learn English, I have a few friends from the UK and from Australia. I can know kind of when somebody is from the UK and from Australia. I can kind of know, okay, they're Australian, they're from England. But I have a few friends that there's like three of them, and they're all from different parts of the UK. One is from like London, the other one is from is from another city, Sussex or something. And I forgot where the other one is. But when we would all get together, they have different, like, I don't know, the way that they speak, different accents, and they would make fun of each other for it. They're like, oh, you're from the country, you have an accent. But me, I'm from America, and I think they all speak the same. They speak British English. I think that to my ear, they sound all the same. But amongst them, they're like, oh my gosh, you're from the country, man. You need to learn how to speak English better. You know, they joke with each other. And I'm thinking like, what? Like it all sounds the same to me. But then it's the same here in America. Like you can almost immediately tell where somebody is from based on their accent for the most part. Like my parents have like really deep Southern accents. And to be honest, I was raised like that. And then when I started tutoring English in high school, one of the teachers, she told me like, you can't be teaching the ESL students like Southern accent. You have to like, teach them like better English. So I was like, okay. So I decided to like really work on myself too and my pronunciation. Even though I'm American, I was like, I need to change the way I speak a little bit so I can help these students. And ever since then, and especially teaching in Korea for so long, I don't think I can speak like sometimes when I'm around my family, maybe my Southern accent comes out a little bit, but I don't think I can go back to my like childhood accent. I think I'm so used to like this accent I have now. But I know like some people in the Midwest and over on the West Coast, and especially up in like New York, Boston area, their accents, you can immediately tell where they're from. Just like they say one word and you're like, you're from Boston. And oh, you're from like, you know, Wisconsin. Oh, you're from California. You know, you can totally tell where they're from based on their accent.
Yeah, I can tell you that for us, no difference. For us, it's same English. We don't see any difference between you and Tiffany or other person because I think the difference is so tiny. It's not a big difference that you guys are able to see that, but we students we are not.
Yes, I know, and it's fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. English is English, even if you know we speak American English, but like you know, there's British English, there's Australian English. You know, I think from South Africa, like there's so many countries that speak English. So overall, we can all still understand each other. It's just you know, sometimes you're like, hey, are you from New York? You know, are you from California? It's like sometimes we can like pick up on it, but it's not like, you know, super important when you're learning English.
And let me ask you this question. When you are with a student and you as an American, you see somebody using expressions and things like that, how is it the impression that they leave on you or in another American people? Because I know this is different. So I want to know what is the impression they leave on you when they use expressions or things like that.
Okay, so I think maybe it might be different if you ask somebody who's not a teacher, but because I'm a teacher, and even more so because I'm your teacher and the other students in the class, because I'm their teacher, I feel like so proud because I feel like when you start using expressions without even thinking, you are automatically thinking in English, which is the whole point of the Speak English Like a Native course. And ultimately, not even like outside of the academy, that's just your goal. Your goal in life, you know, especially for a lot of these students, maybe not every student, but most of their goals is just to be able to speak like a native, or at least very similar to a native. And when you start to learn to use these expressions that you've learned without even realizing that you're using them, or maybe you do realize that you're using them, but you remember them and it's correct, it makes us smile because we're like, you know what, that is amazing. Because even sometimes especially when I go and I have my live English classes, I give the expression or the vocabulary word, but in the examples that the students send in, there's other expressions and slang that they put in there. And I'm like, wow, even I, as a native English speaker, would not have thought to use that. Like, I wouldn't have thought to use that expression, but it fits so well And, I'm like, you guys are getting better than us in some aspects when it comes to this. You can use them really well. So when it comes to like my students or even other people that, aren't necessarily my students, but they are foreigners and English is their second language, and I see them using expressions, I automatically like respect them more because I know it's hard. It's hard to be able to be comfortable enough in your like language journey to use those expressions, because I have experienced a little bit myself too with learning Korean. I tend to not use the expressions as much because I'm like, I second guess, like, is this correct? And I have to get over that. So I know sometimes it might be difficult for you guys to like, okay, is this the correct expression to use? And, it's totally okay to make mistakes, to put yourself out there and make mistakes. And sometimes, the students do that. I tell them, oh, this expression would sound better. But regardless of all that, just the fact that you were confident enough to say it in the first place makes us like so happy and so proud. And honestly, when students or non-native English speakers use expressions, I'm like, I smile immediately. But when other Americans use expressions, I don't care. Like, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, it's normal for us to use expressions. But like, whenever I hear it from one of my students or like one of my friends that English isn't their first language, I'm just like, oh my gosh, good for you. Like, you're learning, like you're doing so well. I get so happy about it.
And it sounds so natural when you use expressions in a conversation like this. And the other person can get, okay, this is cool, because they are not expecting that you use something like that. And I think you can like give a good impression when you use expressions or slangs, or sometimes we need to be careful because, if you're not, if it's not right, sometimes you can get like in trouble. I don't know, but I just like to use when I really know that expression, and I'm like, I train a lot of times using that, even by myself. Sometimes I'm like crazy. I'm in the car and I'm talking to myself in English, just to practice. So this is a thing that I do sometimes.
Somebody driving by you is like, what is he doing? No, but I will say this. This is just a little story. My husband, he met one of my friends recently. And my husband, he is Asian American. He's Vietnamese American, but he was born here in America. So English is his first language as well. He speaks Vietnamese, but English is his first language. Like both of them, English and Vietnamese together. So he's fluent in English. And he met one of my friends who was an English teacher in Korea with me, but she's Korean. And she's only been learning English, I don't know, maybe 10 years, but she's really, really good at English. And he was so shocked at the expressions that she was using and the things that she was saying that he immediately felt so much more comfortable with her. Because when we were living in Korea, he met her and he was so nervous, like, oh my goodness, like, is she going to understand me? Is she going to, because my husband doesn't speak Korean that well. He's learning, but he doesn't speak it that well. So he was like, is she going to understand me? Like, I don't know how to speak Korean. And I was like, dude, she's an English teacher. Like, just speak English. Like, she'll understand you. And he's like, what if I say something she doesn't know? Because my husband uses a lot of slang. And I was like, no, she'll get it. And then as soon as she started using expressions and slang, my husband felt so much more comfortable. So I think that is another thing. Like, some people, not necessarily myself, because I've always been around, other people from other cultures and countries, but I know like my family members and maybe a few of my friends, when they meet someone who is not a native English speaker, they tend to like, sometimes they get a little bit nervous because they don't know, like, are they going to understand what I say? Should I use this expression? They kind of overthink it. But then when the non-native English speaker starts using the expressions back at them, they're like, wow, okay, you're good. I'm good. I can speak comfortably with you. So I think knowing these slangs and expressions are really good for you as you're on your English journey, because you can make not only yourself like feel more comfortable with English, but the people who you're talking to, it makes them feel more comfortable speaking back with you, because sometimes they're like, oh, should I say this? I don't know if they're going to understand. But as soon as you start using expressions yourself, they automatically think, okay, you got this. You're basically a native English speaker. Let me talk to you comfortably.
Yeah, but be careful. This could be a little tricky. I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you do that, people think, okay, I can talk in a normal velocity with him. And then this happened with Tiffani. I talk to her a lot, and she doesn't talk to me as a student. She talks very, very fast with me. And sometimes I said, oh, hold on, you are speaking so fast. So I think when you do that, of course I'm joking, it's good to do that, but when you do, sometimes people think, okay, I can talk to him in a normal pace. So could be a little, sometimes you need to effort you more to understand, because they think, okay, this guy speaks very, very, very good. Let's talk in a normal pace. And sometimes, okay, hold on a little bit, slow down. let's talk more.
Here's an expression. We say sometimes you can set yourself up for failure. And it doesn't necessarily mean like you're going to fail. It just means like maybe you kind of overdid yourself a little bit. And now you're like, you have to keep up with this. If not, they're going to assume like you're failing down. Because I do this a lot when I'm in Korea. Conversational Korean, I'm very good at. Like, I'm very good at having conversations in Korean. But because of that, some people think like they can have really in-depth conversations with me. And I'm like, I don't know those words. I'm like, okay, maybe I can understand like, normal things, like normal talk, like, but I don't know how to talk about how your dog was diagnosed with cancer. I don't know how to do those things, my vocabulary isn't as great. So I understand what you're saying when sometimes you can start using the expressions and the other person's like, oh, wow, their English is perfect. And then they can start talking faster to you, or maybe start throwing a lot of different expressions to you. And you're like, whoa, I'm not that great yet. Please, a little bit slower. Maybe, can you explain that expression? I totally understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah. Actually, for me, it's like I like to do that. I like when I am in an uncomfortable situation, like this podcast, for example. Is an uncomfortable situation for me because I'm talking to you in English. We have almost an hour now, and I'm pushing myself to do that. So when I put myself in like a danger situation or in a outside of my comfort zone, I start to get better because I need to push myself harder to understand and to express myself in a good way. So I think for me it works like that. I don't know. Some people don't like to to be in a hard situation, but for me it's like in a hard situation is exactly when I grow, when I improve.
When you excel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. And I will tell you this. I went into this podcast today with you, not as your teacher. I went in as like just anyone. So I've been speaking like I would speak to anyone pretty much. Now, I'm not going to lie, with Teacher Tiffani, she and I, sometimes we can talk really fast, but that's because we're just trying to get fast and hurry. But for you, I've been speaking like a normal, like I'm not like using my teacher voice or anything. This whole time, I've just been speaking to you like a native English, like a regular American you would see on the street. And you've been doing amazing. So, I mean, I think it's good to like put yourself outside of your comfort zone every now and then. It not only betters you, but it can also let you know what area you need to work on. And also it kind of gives you a little bit of a confidence boost and maybe motivation. Because if you did really well, like if you're understanding everything I'm saying right now in this podcast, you can walk away from this podcast and be like, wow, my English is getting good, and you can like, I don't know, kind of boost yourself up. But then if you realize like, oh, there's some things I don't really know, that can motivate you to go back and learn those things. So I think it's really good to get out of your comfort zone at times and put yourself out there. Another expression, put yourself out there and do things that make you uncomfortable, every now and then.
Yeah, I think in life for me was like that. The moments that I improve myself, in business, at the university, and in English, of course, is when I try to do something big or something that I'm not able to do. Like, okay, this is a big challenge for me. This is a huge challenge for me. Okay, let's do it. And it's unbelievable how much you grow, how much you improve when you do something difficult. Because, do something easy, okay, you can improve, but not so much. For me, it was like when I was learning Spanish, my Spanish was like very broken at the time. I was not able to speak very well in Spanish. It's similar to Portuguese, but I was not able to, I understand, but I was not able to talk. And I decided to record a video speaking in Spanish. Like, for me, it was like, whoa, this is amazing. This is big. I never did that before. But when I record that video and I post on YouTube, just for fun. And a guy saw and said, your Spanish is really good. Okay, I can help you to improve, but it's really good. I got like, whoa, I didn't know that my Spanish was good. So it's crazy because in 2 months, because I got so motivated because I did something really hard and I got like good feedbacks about it. In 2 months, I was speaking in Spanish very well, like in a normal pace with people from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Colombia, from everywhere, without no fear, without no hesitation, speaking very naturally. So just because I did something difficult, I did something very hard for me. And after that, I got, okay, was not a challenge anymore. What's the next challenge I have? So I start to do things harder to improve my Spanish. And with English, I'm doing the same right now. And I encourage other people to do it. Because if you can record yourself for, 1 minute speaking in English, you see that, oh, it's not a big of a deal. I did that. So I can do for 10 minutes. I can speak for an hour. And then you can improve little by little because you see that, okay, it was a challenge, but I did. Now I can get another challenge and harder than that one. So I think this really helps us to improve and, to go far away. And I don't know if you have this type of experience before.
Yeah, no, I'm going to give this, I don't know, kind of example, but not only will it help you get out of your comfort zone, sometimes it helps bring about future opportunities for you as well. And I'll give this example. So one of my friends in Korea, he was a French major at his school in Korea. And he loved the French language. He was studying it. He had been studying it for 4 or 5 years. And he decided to start posting like daily vlogs in French in order to like help him, because there wasn't a lot of French. He didn't have a lot of French friends in Korea. And he spoke English very well because he used to live in Australia. So he had already kind of conquered English to a certain extent. And of course, he's Korean, so he spoke Korean very well. But he didn't get a chance to speak French that often. So what he started doing was uploading his videos every day to YouTube. And it was like kind of like a vlog or like a video diary. He would just speak for like 1 or 2 minutes about what he did that day, but speak in French. And he did this for like 2 years, like almost every day. He would just upload a quick little video of him speaking French. Nobody really viewed it that much, but he applied for a scholarship to go to grad school in France. And they were asking like, they asked him like, hey, why should we choose you? You need to show me like, why should we choose you? And he was like, I have been dedicating my life to learning French for 5 years now. And he showed them his YouTube channel. Every day for the past 2 years, he's been posting his day in the life or whatever in French. And they accepted him and they gave him a scholarship to go to school at this university and study in France. And I think he's also very smart, but I think one of the major reasons why they did that is because they see like, man, this guy, he really wants to master the French language. He wants to be able to speak French like a native, So I think that's why he got accepted. I really do. And it's only because he put himself in that like uncomfortable position to speak French for the whole time in these videos. And I think, that's not going to happen to everybody, but I think it's possible. It's, you never know what opportunity might come about for putting yourself out of your comfort zone.
I have something that I think sometimes is, in life, you have two options. You can give up, you can give an excuse, or you can do something about it to improve in English or whatever you are doing. And this is a great example of this. People usually say, okay, I want to improve my English, but I don't have nobody to speak with. I don't have way to practice. Record videos as your friend did is a great way to practice, because you are doing something very hard. You're putting yourself in for everybody see you speaking in another language. So this is the best way to practice. And you don't need to wait for somebody to talk to you. You can talk to the world in English or whatever is the language. And it's unbelievable how much you can improve in this type of situation. It's unbelievable. You just see if you do it. So all the time I try to encourage students to do that, because it happened to me. It is happening to me right now. As I mentioned, doing this is not easy at all, but it gives me more, how can I say, the desire to do more, because I noticed that, okay, this is really cool. I'm doing something very, very different. So when I noticed that, oh, this is cool, I can do more and more. I'm trying to get practice right now. I'm getting practice, but I'm not thinking about, okay, I'm practicing my English. No, I'm doing something cool. And at the same time, I'm practicing. And this will help me to improve my English and, gain more confidence and speak in a better way. So sometimes people get like, okay, I don't have the chance to practice with somebody. Doesn't matter. Do it by yourself. You can do it. You have a lot of options right now.
Yes. And I don't know if you remember, it's been almost 3 years. I don't know if you were around. I think you've been with Teacher Tiffani's Academy for a long time, though. You're one of the...
Since the beginning, since 2019.
Yeah, so it's been about 3 years that we've been encouraging students to upload their videos. But if you remember, at the very beginning, we had only a few students, like just, a few students in there, and everyone was so nervous to record in English. They would even say like, oh, I don't think I can record. I don't want to record. And Teacher Tiffani and I were just like, come on, post your video. It'll be better for you. And like, now look at the chat. Every day I just scroll, everybody posting their videos. They're so much more comfortable. It's just, you have to take that first little step to get out of your comfort zone and really challenge yourself. And then you realize it's not so bad. What is it? Another expression, maybe the last one for today. You have to dip your toe in that water. You have to dip your toe in the waters, which means you have to like, just put yourself out there a little bit. And then you realize, it's not that bad. Just like if you go to the pool and you think, oh, the pool's really cold. So you dip your toe and you're like, oh, that's not that cold. You just jump right in, right? So it's the same with these videos and in English in general. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations in order to realize, hey, this is not that bad. I can do this. I can speak English or whatever language you're learning. You have to put yourself out there in order to realize that.
It's funny you mentioned about the videos, because I remember the day this resource started to work, because it was I was talking to her, to Teacher Tiffani, and she was creating the course and everything. And I said, why you don't put a 5-step, like record a video and make people get uncomfortable doing that, but to improve. I told her, this was my experience. Why you don't do the same? I think you help the students. And she said, oh, this is amazing. Let's do it. And in a few time, people are doing that all the time. And now if you look at the community, you see a ton of videos all the time. People are comfortable doing that, and they do on a daily basis. And I think this really helped them to improve. And those that are doing, they are getting better. They are improving so much more than those that don't do it, because it's about self-confidence. And
and we as teachers, we notice too, like especially during the monthly live classes, the people who are more talkative are always the people who participate the most in the chat with their videos and everything. And the people who are less talkative are the ones who don't post as much or whatever. So it shows, like, it's just a slight, I'm not saying one student is better than the other. No, I'm saying is like your confidence, just posting every day in the chat, it helps your confidence so that when we meet, in our live meetings and stuff, the students are much more confident to just go ahead and be like, oh, hey, teacher, I want to ask about this, or I want to talk about this, or, they answer our questions. They're much quicker to do that than the students who haven't really been posting so much. They're kind of quiet and they're like, they type in the chat, I have a question, So it's a lot, it's different. We can notice too. And I definitely recommend, I always say 5 minutes a day. If you have more, that's amazing. But if you can just, our days are 24 hours. If you have just 5 minutes you can spare, I'm pretty sure no matter how busy your schedule is, at least 5 minutes to learn something new. And I practice that when I study Korean. Every day for 5 minutes, I study Korean, at least 5 minutes. And I'm busy, I have 2 jobs and 2 kids, and I try to do everything. My kids are in sports. I go to the gym, but I just like, no, okay, it's only 5 minutes. And if I have more time, it's more time. But if I don't have more time, at least I can say, I studied Korean today, and other people can say, I studied English today. At least you can say that, every day.
Consistency. You need to be consistent.
Yeah. And the as soon as you start like missing days or whatever, sometimes as humans, our mentality is just like, oh, I messed up. And then it's like, here's another expression. It's a slippery slope, meaning like you start going down and then before you know it, you're not even learning English anymore. It's so easy to fall off. And another expression. Oh my goodness, we have so many expressions.
I know.
So it's so easy to fall off the bandwagon. Okay, there's another expression, which means it's so easy to like stop doing what you planned on doing. As soon as you realize, oh, I don't have time for this today, and the next day, I don't have time. It's so easy to stop. But even if it's just 5 minutes a day, the consistency is what keeps you going. And then before you know it, boom, like you've learned so much. And you think about it, oh, it's only 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. How did I learn so quickly? It's because you were consistent. It's because you did it every day, to the point where it became a habit. And now you don't even think about not doing it. You automatically think like, I have to do it. It's something just like taking a shower or brushing your teeth or using the restroom or eating. Like it's something that just becomes a part of you, where you're just like, I don't even have to think about it. I'm going to do it because, why not?
It needs to be a habit, like you need to do every single day. And it's funny because I talked to Teacher Julie, I talked to Teacher Tiffani, and with you right now. And all of you guys said the same thing: consistency. You need to be consistent in your studies, because with consistency, you will improve. If you stop, even for a while, you're getting down, until you lose what you learn. So because this happens, if you don't practice, if you don't keep studying, you get worse and worse and worse. And when you see your English is really, really bad, because you are not doing anything about it. So consistency, I think, is one of the keys to improve, is consistency.
I will say that the students inspired me so much. About 2 years ago, whenever I came, so usually when I come back from Korea, and I came back like 13, 14 months ago. So a year and a couple months, I came back from Korea. Usually when I'm here in America, my Korean always gets worse, typically, because I don't get to speak it that much, so my Korean always gets a little bit worse. But because I see you guys working so hard and to keep learning English despite any challenges or anything that's going on in your life, I decided to implement the okay, if they can do it, I can do it kind of method. If my students are spending their time like uploading their videos and studying their course and their vocabulary words, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm not going to lie. At first, I was like, oh, I have to study. I have to study a little bit. But now it's so like, I just know that I have to do it and I do it. And my English for the first time or not my English, sorry, my Korean for the first time in, what has it been, 11, 12 years that I've been learning Korean, it is improving here in America. Every time I'm in Korea, when I lived in Korea like 7 years, of course, my Korean improved because I'm there using it all the time. But now it's improving actually as I'm over here in America for the first time ever. And I'm like, it's just consistency. Because in Korea, I'm forced to be consistent because I walk outside my door and everything's in Korean. So I have to. But here in America, I don't have to study Korean. I do it because I want to learn and I can be consistent. And it's showing that it's working, you know, I'm getting better, even though I'm not actively, you know, speaking it all the time like I was in Korea. So consistency works, you guys.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. Carly, we are almost in the end.
Yes.
It's a pity because we can talk for, 3 hours about this topic.
Yeah.
I really love that. But I think we need to have another interview, another conversation in the future, because this topic doesn't end. There's a lot of things to talk about it, and I really appreciate your time. But before you go, I want to ask you a thing.
Okay.
If you could give just one tip or just one advice to an English learner, what this advice would be?
Well, I think we just talked about it. I would say make time. Even doesn't matter how busy you are or how busy you think you might be. There's always at least 5 minutes. Come on now, like we have 24 hours in the day, and you can spend, half of that working, the other half sleeping. But in between those halves, you at least have 5 minutes. Come on now. So I would say my biggest piece of advice is make the time. Even if you look at your schedule and you think there's no way I'm going to have time to study, even just like there's an app, I think I used to have it as an English teacher, and it's like the Webster dictionary app. Every day they send you an email about the word of the day or something. I don't know if they still do this because this was like 10 years ago, but even if you just learn one new word a day or study one thing a day, you're still learning. You can't say like, oh, I didn't study today, because you did. I mean, obviously it's better if you make a little bit more time, but at least those 5 minutes is good. That's my biggest piece of advice. Another thing I would say is to make it more fun. If you feel like, oh, like I don't want to study today, watch a video, even if it's like a short YouTube video, or you want to watch a whole movie, or you want to start a new series, watch something in English. Because for me, learning Korean, it's helped me so much to like watch, even if I don't have a lot of time for like a Korean movie or drama, I watched like something on YouTube really short. And just a couple weeks ago, I realized that one of the videos was uploaded without subtitles. And I was really disappointed because it's somebody that I follow consistently, and I wanted to hear what this person had to say. But I understood the whole video, and I was shocked at myself because I'm like, I understand now, So even if you think you don't have time to study, just watch something in English or 5 minute, learn something new. There's always time to learn. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
Oh, great. I love these advices, because I have been applying this on my own life: consistency and make it fun. I think this are two things that it's really important to apply in our studies, because it works. It works. If it's fun for you, you can do it for every single day and maintain the consistency. So great tips. Thank you so much for giving us these advices. And Carly, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the quality of the knowledge and the information you bring us today. I learned so much from you today, and I know that the students will learn also. And as I said, we need to talk another time, because this is a good way to to help more students, and you have a lot of things to share. And 1 hour, it was not enough.
Not enough. Yeah, right? Next time we have to do like a full day podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But no,
Yes,
I really
yes.
think we could. We could definitely talk for hours. And again, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I was like a mixture of emotions when you asked me. Like, I was so grateful and so proud of you for doing this. And, I was excited too. So I loved this time we had together today.
Thank you so much. And if the students want to find you, where they can go to find you on the internet?
Well, you know what? I'm working on that. Stay tuned. I think we have some big plans, Teacher Tiffani and I, for this year.
Oh, good.
But I can't say anything yet. So right now,
Guys,
you can
it's a
find
secret.
me.
It's a secret.
Right now, you can find me by joining Teacher Tiffani's Academy. But stay tuned. That might change in the near future. Maybe by the next podcast, you'll be able to find me somewhere else.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to join us in the Speak English Like a Native course, where Carly is a teacher there, you can see the link on the description, in the description. And I don't need to say anything about the course. The course is really, really amazing. You will love it. And your English is going to be very, very, very good because Teacher Tiffani is amazing. Carly is amazing too. And the whole team is great. So it's the right place for you guys speak English with no fear, with no hesitation, as native English speakers do. Okay. So Carly, thanks again for to being with us today. I'm so happy. And guys, if you want to learn more, join us in the course. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up. Help us to share this information for more people and help more students, more people to speak English with confidence. So thanks again, Carly. Have an amazing day. And guys, see you the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.